You're listening to a DM podcast.
Welcome to Over the Back Fence. I'm Di Edwards.
I'm Nicola Dale, and we're buddies of nearly 4 decades. And yes, we actually do happen to share a back fence.
We do. We love parties, people, inspirational stories, and honestly, making the most out of life.
So join us as we open our hearts, share our stories, and hear from some of the most inspirational people in the world, and have a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Hey, Jodie, it's a
Hey,
Monday.
I know, we're back again.
Good to see you.
Yay.
How was the weekend? And
I was actually just thinking driving in, it was like, did I have one beach day? And then it was raining and whatever. But now I'm grandmama. I was like doing a bit of babysitting, doing a bit of partying, doing a bit of lunching. Out to Din Din's. There's a new place opened up in Palmy. And I thought...
The Joey.
Yeah.
Give that a
And that
plug.
was a bit of fun. But I thought probably a nice way to introduce our next guest. We love food.
We love food. I tell you what, actually, I've got a bit of a rumbly tummy now. So who have we got, Dottie? I'll let you lead the way.
Wow. In fact, we met Matt last year at a wedding in
did.
Europe. And
Ibiza.
and there was a lot of good food there. Well, as you now know, we have Matt Moran in the studio with us today. And Nicola with a rumbly tummy. We're all going to go for a bite.
I'm
up
very
to
sorry,
Chiswick.
but I don't have any food.
I
with me.
Actually,
know where to find
we've
you.
decided we might do Chiswick after every because we come from Palmy, as you know, it's a
Yeah,
long drive, and we just thought we might.
We're
just
lunching after every
come-
potty
just,
now.
you know,
Oh,
because
yeah,
we try and
exactly.
squash them all into one day.
Yeah, right.
And we thought we'd just duck up to Chiswick, and we're going to do different people every
We've
week.
got Aria next,
Yeah.
with the opera bar,
Yeah,
we've got
way
everything
to
there. We're
go.
going through the lot, you know. So
I've got about
at
at least 12 weeks of podcast for you.
Brilliant, exactly.
There you go, we got that one sorted. So, look, for those that don't know Matt, which would surprise me if you didn't, he's such an Australian food icon, renowned for over 30 years in the Australian food industry, from TV shows including MasterChef, best-selling cookbooks, some of our favourite and most exciting restaurants, in my opinion, in the world. Plus, we might add, an all-round nice guy. Welcome, Matt.
That's a pretty
That to the back fence.
that's a pretty good wrap. Thank you. It's actually longer than 30 years these days. It's,
Wow.
yeah, it's coming up to. Oh, look, I hate to say it, but it's coming up to nearly 40.
Oh, my God.
Really?
I
Well, you
started when I was
start-
2. Yeah.
Stop. He's like
How old
making
are
out to be
you?
younger than you are.
Wow.
I started when I was 15, so I'm not quite at 40, but yeah, in the next
15.
year.
Tell us.
So
15.
young.
Who starts at 15?
Yeah, exactly. And knows what, they want to do at 15.
You'd be surprised that a lot of chefs that I know, started very, very young. And look, my case was, I came from the country into the western suburbs of Sydney, didn't really sort of, gel with school, and school didn't really gel with me, so we came to a mutual decision. And I just wanted to do something. I had no idea, and I did a little bit of cooking when I was at school, like home science.
You're kidding.
Yeah,
back
it was
then.
me
Wow.
and one mate and 22 girls. And
Smart move, actually.
I didn't do very well in that either.
Wow.
But then, just sort of really wanted to
with
leave
the girls,
school.
or?
With the cooking, sorry.
Okay,
With the
right,
cooking.
right.
And just, thought maybe cooking might be a good thing to do. And
Why? What, like,
Well,
was-
baking was the original, and I thought, baking would be great because you can start at 4 o'clock and finish at 12 o'clock, and you can have the rest of the day.
Like that idea. How you
And then,
thinking?
and then
Did Mum cook too?
No.
Like, was it just at school?
I don't know whether they'll
home
listen to
science?
this.
I'm really
Chicks in the
shocked.
class,
I think you're
Jodie,
right.
come
She's
on.
right. Like,
Too late.
seriously.
Now I'm-
There you go,
We're
guys.
getting
It's
to the
incentive.
behind of really
So
happened
that
here.
was it, home science. I'm
No, well,
shocked.
yeah, it was home science, but then I sort of thought maybe cooking, and I didn't realise, the amount of obviously work went into it, and I went for job interviews. I probably went for 20 job interviews around Sydney, and I remember one of the interviews, the guy said to me, if the first 10 don't work out, we'll give you a ring. So I kind of just thought, I'm never going to get a job because it's really bloody hard to get an apprenticeship back then. Yeah. And I ended up in this place on the north side, which was a place called Belle Helene, which was probably one of the best restaurants in Sydney at the time.
Was that in Roseville?
Yeah, it is.
Because I grew up in Castle Cove. I sort of don't remember that one.
Yeah. It was there for a long time. And I got lucky and I did a trial and I got a job and left school and then realised that, back in those days it was 90 hours a week, 6 days, morning right through to the night. But I have to say it was one of my true love affairs. I fell in love straight away. I'd never seen food that they were doing ever before. Things like, you whip up these egg whites and you put them in the oven, it's called a souffle. Or, even fanned strawberries. I was just obsessed, and I became obsessed, and that's a little bit of my personality. So started at La Belle, was there 5 years, ended up at Restaurant Manfredi, which was one of the top restaurants back then, the
beautiful.
restaurant,
Yeah, beautiful.
and worked for those guys for a couple of years, and then decided I didn't want to be told what to do anymore. So went out at 22 and
I love that attitude, though.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
some people would say that's a little bit sort of out there. Like, really? Is that just sort of like my way or the highway? But it's not. It's like I have the potential.
Yeah,
So let me do it.
I just, I'd been cooking then by, oh God, how long? 15,
7
years.
years
7
then?
years, yeah. And then bought the little Paddington Inn Bistro at the back.
How old
with,
were you when you set your
I was
first restaurant?
22.
Hello.
Wow. So you've got a lot
22.
of drive from a young kid, really. Like that's, you can sort of see that from early,
I didn't really know
It's
what I
true.
was doing when I did it, but I had a partner who was a bit older than me, Pete, who ended up being my partner for nearly 20 years, over 20 years.
What's Pete's last
Pete
name?
Sullivan.
Oh, you're
Right,
Pete
yes,
Sullivan,
Yeah,
right.
I bought him out years ago and he's retired. And,
Don't you love it? He came in with you and bought him out. I love that.
He's just
Too good.
eating those
Too
lovely
good.
meals.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Look, he sort of set me on my way, there's no question, but, we were equal partners and we had a lot of fun. We opened a lot of restaurants together.
Such
we had
as?
Paddington Inn, then we had Moran's, Bon Femme, Quattro, and then in 99 we did the big one, which was Aria.
That's
Wow.
and
And
a lot
Aria
of people
is
listening would know Aria.
Yeah,
It's got
look,
the name.
25 years this year.
Wow.
Congratulations. And people from overseas too, it's one of those iconic restaurants to
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
with the most
Totally.
amazing views of the harbour.
Yeah. Harbour
for
Bridge,
water,
Opera
and
House.
it's sort of like the creme de la creme, is it? Sort
Yeah,
of
it's
the premier-
it's my fine dining, it's my baby.
Yes.
And then 2002 we did Opera Bar. So a lot of people go to Opera,
Opera
Bar
Bar
and then they go
is
to
the Opera House, guys,
Yeah.
for those that don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
And
the
that's
big
classic,
concourse.
isn't it, for all tourists even to
Yeah,
go there as
totally.
well.
I
It's more
think
accessible for
most
people.
people that come to Sydney always end up at Opera Bar for the
Yeah.
view.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and then there's been a string of restaurants since then. I think there's about 13.
I love. Did you hear that string of other restaurants? Like seriously, and it's not like I'm not going to bore the listeners, but because you'll know the names. I mean, there's North Bondi Fish.
Yep.
Barangaroo House. My God, what a building!
Yeah,
that
beautiful
is
building.
remarkable. Chiswick, where we're going today
Yahoo!
for luncheroony.
And I'm hungry.
Hey.
Just had a coffee this morning. I know I'm not normally that hungry, but I am.
Chop House. What's
Chop
that
House.
about?
Chop House
Yeah,
is
what's
a
that one?
steakhouse.
Like I think chop, but it's chop.
No,
meat,
because
is
I
it?
came from the country originally, and unfortunately we moved off all the farms when I was quite young.
Where are you from in the country?
I was born in Tamworth, but my main family are around Oberon, Black Springs,
Oh, beautiful.
which I've got a property there now, which
Yes.
is a little town called Rockley, which I bought the pub a couple of years ago. And
For our country listeners.
yeah, doing a little.
I want to go and
bit
do a
of country.
weekend up there.
You should.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
we're going to do a major work up there at some point and put some, beautiful cabins and high end sort of accommodation and a proper restaurant. But at the moment, it's running as a little country pub.
Yeah.
All the locals are there, which I love. And
It's full circle for you, really, isn't it?
well, it kind of is because the farm's only about 8 minutes away.
I love
So I spend a lot of
Good to
time
have
at
a
the
pub
farm.
nearby.
Isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Seriously.
Yeah, wow.
Exactly. I was spending more time at the farm during COVID, and I just thought, you know what, I'll buy the pub and see what happens. And now I've bought a house next to it and a couple of other blocks. So yeah, we've got nearly 2 acres there now.
Because I tell you what, COVID was a challenge for so many people, but especially in your game.
Yeah,
Your
look, it
game
was
too.
devastating. I remember sitting down with we got like a little personal board, and I remember the chair of the board, who's an ex-accountant, who I love dearly. And we're talking about God, when COVID came
God,
in.
you're talking about God?
No God.
It's an interesting
No
conversation.
God, definitely no God.
We all
Sorry.
needed him at that stage.
Sorry,
You're
viewers,
not
if
wrong.
that upsets you, but no, there's
No,
definitely
no.
no God there. And then, we were talking about, God, what would happen if the revenue fell by 10%? And what would happen if revenue fell by 30%, at COVID? And I think it was about 3 weeks we had zero revenue. So we were all shut up, all the restaurants closed.
Did you say 3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks after
I
that.
mean, when you look
time.
at it in that context, isn't that a reality slap?
Well, it was
Gosh.
scary as, and we've got nearly over 1,000 staff, I think, in the broader group, and it was just it was devastating. It was a bit scary actually, more than anything, until all that JobKeeper came in and that sort
Thank
of stuff.
the
So-
Lord. Oh.
Yes.
There we go. Back to
There we
God.
go.
Yeah, do you,
Back to God
I
again.
think there's going to be a little
What's going
sing-along.
on?
Yeah.
Tony, what are we going to sing?
Hail
Food
Mary,
Glorious
full
Food or
of-
something?
It's a religious
Di always
podcast. I
breaks
didn't even
into-
know
It
that.
is me
Man, I don't know
either.
if you know, but Di always breaks into a little sing-along, so I don't know what song you're going to do with either the...
Hallelujah!
Oh, there we go. Hallelujah.
Like,
Yes,
seriously.
Exactly.
But
My
so-
sweet Lord.
You know the interesting thing though about but the fascinating thing is, like, I think looking at it now, like COVID is the as the consequences of that now. Like people sort of tried to adjust and, no profits, whatever, building. But you're still suffering the consequences of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people still are. There was
Yeah.
all that sort of rent abatement for a lot of people, and they're obviously paying over a period of time. But
Yeah.
you're not having that revenue for a long period of time would
It's
really hurt
crazy.
us.
Yes,
And but we're lucky. We own some of our venues and don't have landlords in some, and some of them are council properties which we have lease off. So yeah, look, we bounce back pretty quick, but the industry is still suffering from COVID.
Absolutely, it's
There's no question
leftover.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
And how
residue.
is it sort of for, like a trade or a thing for young people these days to become a chef or something? Would you
Or an
recommend it, or
apprentice,
or how does it roll?
Yeah,
these
look,
days?
back in my day when I started,
Yeah.
I went to college, catering college, and there was just classes and classes of apprentices, and that's just completely gone.
Yeah.
In fact, ARIA, probably the 30 chefs that we had when we started, probably there would have been 10, 12 apprentices. Up until really this year, we hadn't had any.
Really?
So we've actually got 3 at the moment.
Why is that?
People just aren't really coming into the industry. It's just a tough industry, and even my daughter who just finished school, they had a careers day, when she was in year 12, and hospitality wasn't even part of it. So, we just don't see the people coming in, and
What would you put that down to?
I think it's the nights that you have to work, the commitment you have to work.
Did we work harder back then than what they do now? The young kids?
Yeah, the guys that work for me, obviously, but they're set. They can only work really 40 hours, 42 hours. As where back in the day we just worked, unlimited hours.
round the
And
clock.
I always treat it as part of my education. Cooking is an education. It takes a lot of time to learn how to do things, and you can't learn it overnight. I remember years ago when I did MasterChef, one of the contestants, I won't mention her name because she's a very, very dear friend, and she actually came and did a little bit of work experience for me over the Opera House scenario. And I remember she said to me, Matt, how long is it going to take me to learn everything? And I just laughed and said, I've been working in the industry for 25
Still don't
years.
know it.
Still, there's so much to learn, and that's the great thing
question.
about
And you
it.
know what? Isn't that great? Well, we say that about everything in
make
life.
notes.
We always go, we're students of life.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
And whether it's
Yep.
in your business
Yep.
there, whether it's in living the best life that you can do,
Yeah.
it's sort of like, you're forever learning.
Work in progress till we
You're never
die.
ever going to know this is like, everything.
It's true.
Yeah,
But
I
a lot of
think-
kids today think they know it and
And they can get
I
it done.
can
yeah.
do it. Yeah.
I was away
It's
with
just the way of the
a
world
very
now.
dear friend of mine, Simon Sandel, who owns a restaurant on Gladesville called Brownie Kitchen, and him and I worked together for 17 years. And we were just talking about the other day how back in those days and back in those times, how much fun we had, but it was bloody hard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the hours
Yeah.
are huge.
But it's
Yeah.
hard, but you said you loved it. Was that
What
in
do
the
they
driver's
say in
seat,
life?
your passion? Like,
No, what do they say in life? If you do something you love in life, you never have to work another day.
see, my father used to say
was
that.
it?
Yeah.
Was it?
My
Do
dad
what you
said
love,
that.
love what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah,
it's
and that's
great
the
that-
secret.
It is, and you're kind of lucky in one way, but you create your luck. You
Yeah.
isn't it?
100%.
But you found out that young age was sort of something that you liked.
I fell into
you,
it. Yeah, and look, I'm blessed, and I still think now how lucky I am because I could have been a painter, and whether I loved that or not, I don't know. Whether I could have been an electrician or whatever, whether I loved it, I don't know. Now I would never.
But it's so
even
good.
think
You
of-
share the love with so many people and what you do because you're passionate about it. And
Yeah.
I think then as a punter or a guest going to one of your restaurants, there it's an experience.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
And a lot of them have their own gardens out.
Oh, Chiswick
Like
does.
Chiswick,
and,
tell us about
Yeah,
that.
tell us about-
Do the
wait,
chefs
tell
really
us
go
where we
out?
lunch.
And yeah. She's hungry, dungy. But
Yeah,
do
look-
they seriously go and pick the lettuce that they'll serve you for
Yeah,
lunch?
absolutely,
Like
absolutely.
talk about, you're the original pioneer of
Yeah.
paddock to plate, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
you put your money where your mouth is. Literally, there's the lettuce, or pick it and it's on your plate.
Look, people see that garden, and it came about as well. We weren't allowed to use it for diners, so we thought, what are we going to do with it? And I'm very passionate about the farmers also. Hence why I did Paddock to Plate all those years ago, the TV show. And we thought, God, let's just do a little cottage garden. Everyone sees it all the time. We use whatever we can out of it, and it's all organic. And and I love it. During COVID, I used it the most because no one was allowed there. And they look at it and think, God, it's a great idea. You must supply the restaurant. The restaurant's a very busy restaurant.
Yes.
But what it does, it teaches the chefs, particularly the head chef, whatever we're growing, it has to be on the menu. So, we may only have a couple of capsicum plants, but, capsicum will be on the menu. If we got artichokes are on the menu. So it just teaches them what's seasonal.
And it's also an appreciation too, where
Absolutely.
it's coming from.
Absolutely.
Not in a box from a wholesaler or whatever.
No. And, it's obviously, there's not enough to supply
No,
the
of
restaurant
course
full time.
not.
But all the herbs, and, you see the guys out there all the time picking stuff. We have cherry tomatoes over Christmas, and, we probably get about 100 kilos of them. So we're using that.
But it's like kids that go to the zoo.
yeah.
I know it's a crazy analogy, that have never seen a cow or a giraffe or a lion or whatever.
Do they have cows at the
No,
zoo?
like probably not. Oh, here's the farmer coming out. There's people go to the restaurant and go, wow, is that a eggplant growing there? Or
Well,
they've never seen that
the
before, and I love that
The great
novelty.
one that we do every winter, which is a Brussels sprouts. And do you know how Brussels sprouts grow?
I have to be honest. I've got a little veggie garden at home. I'm going to guess, is it vine? No.
It's a plant. It's a brassica.
Yeah.
Like a cauliflower
Pass.
and a cabbage
Yeah.
and
Little mini
habanero.
one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a stem that grows up with flowers, but the actual Brussels sprouts grow on the stem. So you see this long stem, you see these massive amounts of little balls from a distance, and you go, what are they?
Yeah.
Well, customers do it at Chiswick all the time.
Inquisitive.
And you go, they're Brussels sprouts, and they can't believe that a Brussels sprout grows on a stem.
Isn't that great? You're educating the diner too.
Isn't it funny with Brussels sprouts? Because now I have
Wow.
to say, when they're cooked really well, they're
Yeah.
delicious. But I
Yeah.
have memories as a little girl going, I hate Brussels
Me too.
sprouts.
I used to spit
'Cause
them
my
out.
mum used to make me eat them,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
boiled, I think.
And they were boiled till they were
And I
put on a
grey.
thing
excused
there.
myself to go to the
Great.
loo,
and
and
I had to have it before I could have my ice cream dessert. It was
Yeah.
like, Nicola, have your Brussels sprouts.
See, my grandmother used to cook, a leg of lamb, and I remember growing up on a Sunday, it was always overcooked.
Yeah, that's
And that's just the way that she did it. I love
Yes.
her. But she also used to have Brussels sprouts with it.
That's
and
it.
I reckon if she cooked the lamb early Sunday morning for Sunday lunch, I reckon the Brussels sprouts went on to boil possibly Friday, I reckon.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
So
just
grey, so
funny.
gassy.
so-
So it
Sauerkraut.
really, you have
Horrible.
memories.
How funny.
Hey, tell me, what is do you have a favourite meal, favourite food?
Wow.
I crave things
It's a
at
great
different times of the year.
Okay.
Gone are the days of my restaurants, say we've got asparagus on the menu, when it goes out of season, we don't buy it from overseas anymore. We actually let it go, and then we actually look forward to getting it again. So when you do start to see it, you get really, really excited. And I always say, when mangoes come in, oh, God, that's my favourite thing in the world. And then cherries come in, I go, oh, God, I love cherries more than anything else. And then peaches come in, and then white peaches come in. So it changes all the time.
So it's seasonal. I
It's
love
very
that.
It's always seasonal.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've got that anticipation, which I really like.
It's the romance of food. I
So
think.
it's
Love
dessert.
that.
Are we talking dessert for
you
your
hear that,
favourite food?
Romance of food. And see,
love that
romance
too.
does go hand in
He
hand
loves
with
it.
some of your restaurants too. I've got to say, some of them are romantic, and I have had a few romantic times in my life from years ago.
Did you get a red carnation with baby's breath?
Exactly.
Yeah, look, that's the
Porphyry
spot that you go
pearls.
for a date, I suppose. Aria, that's
that's
a key. Like Valentine's Day, it's just insane.
Beautiful.
Do you know,
Hard to beat.
what is your favourite
My
meal?
favourite food. See,
Yeah,
I
have
got
to
out of
be
that, didn't I?
Yeah.
You know what? People think because I've got fine dining restaurants,
Yes.
and I've got a refined palate,
Yeah.
and I've been a judge on so many shows. I just don't mind the good old roast chook.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And-
And I follow you on Insta, and you've got a great recipe in there for a
Yeah.
simple, easy roast chook.
Yeah, and people,
I love it.
People think because I've got all these restaurants, and I'll be really honest, that, I don't really cook in them anymore, because there's it would just be too hard. Aria, I spent a bit of time. I was in uniform last night.
It's your
doing
baby.
Doing a charity thing, but I still love cooking. So anyone that does follow me on Instagram, thank you.
Yeah.
They'll see that I'm always cooking, and I'm cooking at home a lot, which I love.
And we will put all the links on
We
our
will.
show notes to
Yeah.
all the restaurants.
And the other one's the Basque cheesecake.
Oh yeah,
Put
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love that's
yeah.
that one, and I love how
It's
you
so easy.
crumb the veal chop. I never thought of doing a
Yeah.
veal chop. You
Yeah,
know,
this one,
but
yes,
so,
this is-
so he did. No, I'm so not a cook, but I love to savour
Oh,
and I
yes,
love
you do.
food. But it's
She orders
just,
in and pretends she doesn't. No, that's
exactly. Nicola and I are great at that. But it's like simple. I love it because people go, "I'll never be able to do that. It's too
Yeah,
complex."
yeah.
That's where you go to find done, as you said. But you're saying your palate now is just really good, wholesome home cooked,
Yeah, look, I
yummy
love going
food.
to fine dining restaurants too,
Yes.
but at the same time, I love to cook at home. And it's not uncommon for me on a Sunday night to have a boiled egg on toast.
Yeah, I get that.
Or
Yeah.
just a beautiful piece of sourdough and
Or a Weet
beautiful,
Bix.
beautiful
Hey, do you
homegrown
ever
tomatoes.
do Uber Eats?
Not as much now. My daughter has left to go to
Oh,
Melbourne.
there you go.
And,
I
um,
get that.
Isn't
Don't
it?
you love
Isn't
it?
Don't
What
you
what
love it?
house? Matt
Exactly.
Moran.
Yeah, I know, that's right. That
Love
must
it.
be
So
fun.
no, I haven't since she's left actually. But it's pretty easy for me to whip up something at home fairly quickly
Yes.
and simply.
Yeah. And tell us, how is it? Did you love the the life of TV? Being Master Chef and all that. What was
And with
it
Maggie
like?
Beer, I love those.
Yeah, I worked
shows.
with Maggie for
Yeah.
6 years.
She's a cool cat.
She's very, very special to me, Maggie.
Yeah.
But I still give her a hard time. A lot of people always say, what's Maggie Beer like in real
Yeah.
life? Like, oh, she's horrible. And the look on people's faces, like someone
Don't
just
you love it?
killed Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and Tooth Fairy, and one goes wipe them all out because they say, I can't believe that. Oh yeah,
She's iconic, really, isn't she?
Absolutely iconic.
Yeah.
You're
But
right.
she's one of the most selfless people I've ever met in my
Wow.
life, and I love her dearly.
That's
Ah,
so
well,
beautiful
you've
to
worked
hear that. But what
closely
about
with her,
yourself?
yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
fun being on MasterChef?
Look,
Did
I've
you love
done.
that,
I
or-
think all up. I think there's been 12 different shows I've done in Australia and
Wow,
one overseas.
12.
So it started with Heat in the Kitchen, and then I did My Restaurant Rules, and then I ended up doing the Chopping Block, which is the guys that created
That's
the block.
right. I remember
Yes,
that.
yeah.
And then went and did MasterChef for a while, and then Paddock to Plate and Great Australian Bake Off.
Just a few.
I did an
isn't
F
it?
word,
Yeah.
F word. Which
But
is
you're a
one of Gordon's
natural
shows.
though, because you're talking about something you love.
I've always said on TV, because they love to produce you,
Yes,
to
yeah.
make the TV, and I've always been very honest about what I taste and what I do and what I see. I like to be produced by people saying, Matt, that's not good enough, do it again. But I don't like people to sort of sway me in a way that there's probably they want for the TV show.
Yeah.
I understand
if you
that.
know what I mean.
Yeah,
So,
the parameters. Yeah.
I actually stopped doing TV probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I started doing a little bit of stuff online, but I can be honest and say that we've got a show up at the moment that we're
Wow.
filming in the next few months.
That's
So
exciting.
I'm sort of coming back to it, but I want to do TV now that I want to do, and it's got some sort of meaningful to it. I actually did Gordon Ramsay came out last
Now
year, which
tell
is
us about
He's
your
your
friendship
buddy.
with.
well, he's got a
what
new
do you do with
he's got a new
Gordon?
show coming out
What
on
do you
Channel
do?
9.
Yeah, have you got a
And-
special hobby with Gordon as well?
And he did a
I wanna
pop-up
hear
in
about
our area
that,
last year,
He
didn't
did a pop up, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's head chef
So
from Hospital
cool.
Road. Matt Arbe worked for me 20 years ago for about 5 years. So, and Matt's an Australian guy. He's got 3 Michelin stars for Gordon, and he's very, very close. I did give him a hard time when he worked for me. And Gordon was out here doing a show in Melbourne, and we decided to do it. But yeah, we've been mates. We don't want to talk about too much about Gordon, but
No.
we've been mates.
No,
for-
But what do you
that's a
do
little
every
bit-
year
what's the
together?
hobby that you do?
What do you
Come
do
on.
with
we
Gordon?
go
This is
to
interesting.
Iceland.
As you do.
Wow.
Every
Love to go to
July,
Iceland.
and it's his big thing, and I've fallen in love with it too. So he took me years ago, and his theory is that we're going to go every July for the rest of our lives. I always say to him, mate, that's fine, but if you die before I do and you don't leave me a jet, I may not get
the
there
deal.
again. I know. Look, it's just mates
How
away,
cool.
and we go fishing, and
So you're on a boat, like I'm
no.
imagining
We
on
actually
ice.
we actually go. No, it's not ice because
No.
it's summer there.
Okay, you
So
go
it has about
summer,
22
right.
hours of
Yeah.
daylight, and
Yeah.
we go into the beautiful river systems, and we catch Atlantic salmon.
Oh, wow.
How and of course you
know
guys
what?
eat it.
There's so
No,
many-
no, we don't. We actually catch and release.
Oh, do you?
Occasionally, if something happens to one of them, we will get the hotel to smoke, and we'll have it for breakfast or a bit of sashimi or whatever. But that's
Wow.
very rare, maybe.
Yes.
And we don't catch a lot of fish because they're very hard to catch. We do
Yes.
go into a lake and get big
They're
ocean
not in a
trout.
pen.
No.
No, they're
Yeah,
not in a
they're
pen.
pure
Do you
natural.
know, Di, what I also love about this too with you, Matt, is that it's a friendship, a male friendship, and we're sort of saying how that's important in life. We're sort of saying with longevity and we can have a great diet, you can have all those things there, but for your health and living the best great life is friendship and support.
And we hear it a lot, don't we?
Yeah, and sometimes you don't always get, sometimes women are really good with their friendship and maybe
Yes.
not so much men or blokes.
Yeah.
And I like
No,
hearing that.
We are, and the community of chefs are very, very close. I did a charity thing last night, and there was about 20 chefs, and we were all mates. And it was fantastic. There was Joshy Nolan and Neil Perry and Guillaume And
How
God,
wonderful.
there's so many, and it was just really good. We just sort of hang out and we all hug each other every now and then. It's
Wow.
great.
Wow. Is there
'Cause such
rivalry
a-
between, like the,
Oh, look, there's always
s-
competitiveness, but
yes,
I don't know, maybe because I'm a bit older, I'm not that competitive with those
Yeah.
guys, and
Yeah.
I wish them all the best.
Like-minded.
And when I see
Yes.
success, I think it's fantastic. I was just talking to Neil last night about Margaret and how amazing it is. And,
Yeah.
That is a great
and,
restaurant.
and he's got a new one that he's opening in a few months.
Mm.
And and the guys from Melbourne, Andrew McConnell and Shannon Bennett, they're all close mates. And in fact, they all came up to the farm recently, which was nice.
Oh, I
Oh,
was gonna.
how
So how's the
fantastic.
farm going? It really intrigues me. Like coming back to your pioneer and of course the philosophy behind paddock to plate. How does that work? Do you, for example, the pork, the beef,
Yep.
the lamb, does that go to your restaurants from your farm?
It does, yeah. It
Really?
does, yeah. Not all of it, but
a lot of it does.
when we can, yeah. So
How fabulous.
We killed it. Actually, we're killing some. I shouldn't say it.
No,
so
I
harsh.
wouldn't say. I'd say gently taking them in a truck.
8 pigs going for a drive, and they're
Yeah.
coming to the city to
Yes.
see the big smoke.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
Next week, I think, and then we've got a couple of steers that want to come and check out the steakhouse. Should I say?
Excellent.
Yes, I love that.
And,
But you know what I'm saying is that you put your money where your mouth is, literally.
Yeah, and
when
look,
it comes to food, the quality of the food, the
Yeah.
sustainability of the farming,
Yeah.
that's
Look,
to be honoured.
The farm is something that I'm very passionate about now, and and changing some farming practices.
Yes.
Things like regen and trying to keep water on the farm and drought proof and all that sort of stuff. But when you talk about produce, and you talk about restaurants and how successful they are and how successful chefs are, if it wasn't for the farmers, we wouldn't be at all.
Correct.
Exactly.
So the
So
farmers.
can we say hats off to the farmers?
Hats off to the
Tell
farmers.
us about
Yeah.
this hat too. What's
You've won many a hat, I hear,
Yeah,
over
how
the years.
many
2
hats?
hats.
We've got a
The
hat
Sydney Morning Herald
Matt,
first
tell us
guy.
about this.
Oh, look, not having a lot of hair on my head. In fact, not having any.
That's a true farmer's hat.
And my son particularly, he's starting to be a doctor, so he's always like, Dad, you can never
Wow.
put never sit in the sun, and you've got to wear your hat.
Yes.
So this is a guy that makes hats in Bondi. Bam Bam, that's his name, or he calls himself Bam
It's
Bam.
cool, isn't it?
And Bam Bam's made a few for me over the years. In fact, I wasn't very well at Christmas time, and Gordon wanted to send something out, and he organised to get one made for me to make me feel a little bit better. And on one side is all the mountains on Iceland, and on the other one there's a big fishing hook because we go fishing every
Oh,
year.
what
Beautiful,
a good
beautiful.
mate.
So that's
Wow.
hidden. I'm going to take that to Iceland.
I just want to ask a question.
Mm.
It's such a volatile industry.
Mm.
It's massively stressful. It's not just the guests, it's the staff, it's the people in the kitchen, the heat, whatever. Any tips for our listeners on how to cope in situations like that?
Look,
because you seem to be so calm.
Am I?
You always do. You really do. I mean, what's your way of dealing with that?
Look, the most important thing I
Good
think
question.
to owning a restaurant, it's a great question, is you're doing it because you love it. Otherwise, it's too hard. And from a very early age, being 22 when I opened my first restaurant, I surrounded myself with people that knew more about it than I did. The business side of it. And I am
Interesting.
a businessman now, but apart from I'm a chef and I'm a cook and restaurateur and a farmer or whatever else.
Entrepreneur.
But
yeah.
I sponged off people, and I'm sure I had a big ego when I was really young. But
That probably drove you.
At the same time, I was sponging off people and trying to learn as much as I possibly could.
And you're really diplomatic with that word,
Yes,
sponging.
yes,
I get
yeah,
it. It's
exactly.
logical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And over the
great.
years,
Just-
I've been very lucky to have incredible chefs that have worked for me, probably far better chefs than I was in my day. And, it's about not just, having great food these days, it's about having great everything. It may not be the best food in the world, your restaurant, and I would say that about Aria, but, it's got so many other things going for it, location, acoustics, waiters, wine list, being comfortable, and obviously location. If you look at a lot of my venues, they're pretty iconic locations, Chiswick in the Gardens, North Bondi Fish on the beach, Aria where it is, Opera Bar you can't beat. Well, I've got one in Brisbane on the water. So it's choosing those
You've got a lot
locations.
going
So
on. How do you deal with that pressure?
I employ
But you personally,
Me?
how do you deal with that? No, really. Do you
love-
walk on a beach? Do you deep breathe? Do you meditate? Do you gym?
Look,
He goes ice fishing,
Yeah,
don't he,
yes,
with
that's
Gordon
once a
Ramsay?
year,
you
that's-
know?
that's
I
a good
picked up
one.
on that
I'm
one.
lucky I live on the coast,
Yeah.
and I haven't been that well for the last couple of months, so I'm just recovering from an injury, and
Right.
I'll get back to it.
Yeah.
But it's all about getting up, exercising, and it doesn't matter whether it's winter or summer. I always jump in the water. And
As
that's
in
it.
ocean?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
See, there you
Love
go.
that.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah,
people
isn't
say
that
that
good?
it's
And
healing.
How do
Yeah.
you find that? Because
Yeah.
you're in your 50s and married, and how do you put it all together? Like, what are your tools
I don't
or
know.
secrets?
It just
you know,
happens.
like
It just
Yeah.
happens.
and two
Yeah.
beautiful kids. I mean,
Yeah.
really,
We're trying to
that's
take
be,
you deep there.
Yeah,
no?
no, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
just-
are.
But
You're
I
trying to
get
get a tear
yeah,
out
we're
of me.
trying to get it's good for the ratings. Come on.
I did a
Edge
show
him on.
years ago.
Splash a bit of water.
I like the juice out of the
Squeeze it out.
cooking.
No.
I did a show a couple of years ago, which was on my ancestry, called "Who Do You Think You Are?" And one of my best mates, Simon Baker, was on the same series.
Oh, I love him.
And after
Yeah.
we made it, he said, "I hope you didn't cry. You big sook." And I'm like, "Oh, let me think." And there was a time
'Cause he probably did.
We're at Black Springs, and I had my foot on my great grandfather's grave, and it was starting to rain and a little bit
Is
of
that near
sleet and snow.
Rockley?
Yeah,
That's
and my actual great grandfather was married in the church behind the Rockley pub in 1883.
Did you find that out from the show, or did you?
I did, yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant.
And
So
what
you-
I
did
what I
you
also,
cry?
What I also found out
Come
was
on.
that my whole history is, and it kind of makes sense to a lot of people now, were Irish convicts. And there was murder, and there was stealing, and there was bushranger, all this sort of stuff. Anyway, so I squeezed out a tear because I really wanted to go home, and it was quite sincere about my great grandfather, because he was the one that came good, and he had farms and had a farm in Black Springs, which is not far from Rockley, for nearly 100 years, or generational. And I squeezed it out, and Simon kept going on about, "I hope you didn't cry, I hope you didn't cry." And his episode was the first one of the series, and I thought I better watch it. And he just sooked the whole way freaking through.
That's why he's giving him a hard time. Totally. That's just amazing.
Sorry, Si, I just
So
called you
we're
out, buddy.
talking about emotion because it's like how dealing with stress is such a huge thing,
It really
and
is.
in the century we're living right here, right now.
I think I've got a lot more emotional over the years, and I've calmed down a lot. My
That's a
temper's
great
not.
honesty.
good,
Yeah,
I think kids
is that
do
true,
that too.
Joe? We're listening to the pair. He's calmed down a lot in 2 years.
Kids do that to you too.
Tips, like that sort of
Yeah,
life.
interesting point. Kids,
Yeah.
kids
So,
can
yeah, it's
kids
just
can nail it for
and
you.
just sort
like
of
a lot
balancing the
time.
family life, when
Yeah.
you're
Yep.
busy and your beautiful
wife's
wife's Sarah,
busy.
and she's top lawyer and
Judge,
your kid-
judge now.
judge
Yeah.
now. Wow.
Unbelievable.
Hey, can you win a fight in that one?
Yeah, no.
No,
But it's
The roost
interesting
at
you
home
said
there.
kids can slow.
Well,
just
both my
make
kids are
different
now in
perspective.
university in Melbourne, which has been very hard, because
Right.
they're down there, and my daughter just recently left because she finished school last year, and when she's home, she's not just home alone. She's got 5 other kids there. So, I'd always be making toasties or breakfast or something for them. And it's a little bit sort of trying to get used to it at the moment.
Yeah.
Do they cook
yeah.
to the kids? Or
It's
Uh,
grounding,
too?
grounds you.
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Mim does a little bit more
Yeah.
baking. Harry loves food and loved going to restaurants, but had no real interest until he sort of moved out into a share
He
house.
had to eat.
And it's like, "Dad, why didn't you show me the basics when I was home?" It's like, "But he had no freaking interest whatsoever." But now, I send him some care packages too, because he's a student. He's got no money. But,
Yes.
All right. Well, you got out of Matt that he's a swimmer. He go. What do they say? I plunge into the ocean to reconnect to my soul.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot in that because
Yeah.
a lot of people say they go into the ocean. I talk about it a lot, don't I?
you do, yes.
If I'm feeling down or something's frustrating me,
Yeah.
I'll come out a different person.
There's something
Mother Nature.
to
Yeah,
cooking
exactly
too.
right. Spot on.
It's not uncommon for me on a Sunday, to sit in the kitchen and cook for hours, and make casseroles or a beautiful tart or something like that. And to me, that's really therapeutic.
It's like a meditation.
It is
you know
in a
what? I was
sense.
thinking the
Isn't
same
it?
thing
Yeah,
as the
cooking
way
for
he's
hours.
saying
Yeah.
it.
And when
Got
I
me in there.
when I
Yeah,
have-
you know.
you even
And
you
I'm not a
her
huge
in.
cook.
Yeah.
I do like
I
to
get
bake a
that.
dessert.
I get that.
And when people
I mean-
are over for lunch or whatever, it's like, guys, just get out of my space. This is my thing, and
But you're
and-
nurturing them because ultimately they're going to be eating this beautiful food
Yeah,
that you're
they get the benefit of my
baking. Yeah.
meditation.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how great is that line?
know. That is
That's
so good.
just stunning.
I'm a giver. I love feeding people,
Yeah.
and I always have.
beautiful.
And that's
Beautiful.
you are a giver. Like you're saying last night at a charity thing, and we know sort of also with another one with Too Good as well. That
Yeah.
you've seen
Yeah.
your support there.
Brilliant.
Which is, And so tell us about some of the charity stuff that you do.
Yeah.
Oh, look,
to help
I'm
people.
still involved. Obviously I was Harvest. I've been, with running for years as an ambassador, and we started up a foundation called Thank You for Farmers, which is all about the farming community, which is very, I'm very passionate about. But, I think as you get older and you look at life and you think, you know what, it's been pretty kind to me, and, success has sort of come through that. And, there's a period of time that you want to really give back and do as much as you possibly can. Whether it's, being generous doesn't mean just about, handing over money. It's about generous with your time. It's about, mentoring people. And there's a lot of chefs, and I won't mention them, but there's a lot of chefs that are in Sydney that are now really successful. But, years and years ago, I spent, time with them, or they'd ring me and ask me for advice and whatever else. And it was always free. And I think that's really important too. So,
It's got a balance, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You take, and then you were saying what you were saying about sponging off them because you wanted to learn.
And,
now,
they sponge
you're
off
giving-
me.
Yeah,
sponge off
exactly.
you.
Now, there again, there's the full circle
and
again.
they're lucky to do
and I
that
think that's a
too.
beautiful thing in life.
Yeah, I
if
think
you
that's
can give
it's
back.
really special to give
Yes,
back and,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
to the industry as much as you possibly can.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, giving back, well, you're giving back to all of us, all our listeners, everyone in Australia and really around the world, because you are iconic. And,
You've
we're
inspired her to cook.
I
Now,
know.
That's
I'm gonna
That's
cook-
huge.
I thought she's going for lunch.
Let me tell you, that is
exactly.
huge.
I know, but I do want to cook a
But,
nice, I do
but
like
didn't that
dessert.
just click with you then when his whole face relaxed and he went into, I cook, I start to cook, and I'm
do a meditation
and
sort of
I
cooking a
I
dessert,
just
yeah.
went straight into where you head with that,
Now,
and
I
I
want to
thought
ask Matt
I'm
a
going to bake
question.
more.
I'm going
to bake more.
I want to ask Matt a question. If you could share a back fence with anybody on planet Earth,
Wow.
who would it be and why?
Depends on what genre. I'm not going to say chef because I know most of them.
What about your great grandfather?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Oh, sorry, I'm throwing it
Charlie.
out there.
Charlie would be great.
Gordy,
He's a very
Anybody.
interesting character.
Past or present?
Yeah.
Look, I always used to say I'd love to go and hang out for a night with Obama and Prince Harry. When Harry was fun,
I
and
want to
then
come
Obama can
I
go.
support Harry. I'm a
Obama
Harry
can go home
supporter.
at 10 o'clock, and Harry and I can go out and party.
Yeah,
but I think
hey, I want to dance with Obama. He's a cool dancer.
Yeah.
And my daughter's actually
But I
danced with
love
Prince Harry.
I love
so-
the two of them. I love
Yeah.
that, like the contrast.
I just
yeah.
put the kind of two together, and
That's
we have a
cool.
beautiful dinner, and we could talk about stuff, and then Obama can go home, and Harry and I go to Vegas like he used to.
How
And it's all,
fabulous.
hey, this is the
He'd
way
be
to
out.
be in
He'd be
Vegas, too,
seriously
wow.
out there.
Well, he was, but I don't think he is anymore. So
My last question to you. Our last question. If you had the opportunity of meeting your 20-year-old self, what sort of advice would you give yourself? A and B, why?
I was pretty full on when I was 20. I sort of lost those teenage years and the early 20s because, one, I was working 100 hours a week, and then I had my own business. And I think my son is going through this stage at the moment is where, he's so full on doing medicine, he wants to have a gap year and travel overseas. I really wish that I'd probably tell myself to have a break and do a bit of travelling,
Interesting.
backpacking and whatever else,
Yeah.
and just get a little bit of, education that way. But at the same time, maybe if I did that, I wouldn't have had
That's
the
what I'm
opportunities
thinking.
where I am now. So, later on in life, I travel the world, but it's not backpacking.
Yes.
And I still get to see it. But I kind of, a lot of people, when I was in my 30s, used to talk about their backpacking years and how great it was and how amazing it was. And I never really had that opportunity. So,
There you go, backpacking. I like that.
Yeah.
Just chilled and
great.
having
Wow.
time out. But isn't it funny how life plays out? You look back in reflection, but
I think that's
ultimately
great, though.
it's all been good for everything you've done has
Yeah.
got you where you are today.
Yeah.
And we're so proud of you, Matt.
We
You-
are
You're a
proud of
total.
you.
I
You
did
really
start
are,
with
like-
Australian icon.
Yeah.
You've got the Order of Australia.
It's well
You're a good soul. You
deserved.
give back to the community, and it's been pure joy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, she's got
Absolutely
a hungry tummy now.
pure joy.
Having you on, you have no idea how much. I've
Jules,
loved it.
it's so great
Yeah.
to be here. It's great
Yeah.
to see you again.
Yeah,
It's
just
been 8 months or
fabulous.
something.
We
Yeah.
met in Spain, in Ibiza, at a wedding, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we
the
went
food
on to
was
a
good there. We
cruise,
did a
didn't we?
cruise. And we
You
kept
went
on
to a
going
wedding in
and-
Paris.
I went straight after, and it was
Yeah.
so
Pretty
good that
cool.
Yeah.
the guys that were getting married, and I won't mention names, they could
No.
organise it 3 days apart.
Oh, that's how you do it, isn't
Thank
it?
you very
I'll tell
much.
what,
It's in the
exactly.
diary.
That's
It's
right,
done.
yeah. Well, thank you
Good
so
on
much
you,
for
Matt.
coming on to the
Thanks,
Back
Joe,
Fence
for
and-
bringing him in. We
Yeah.
love you, Sam.
And thank
Thanks,
you for all our
everyone. Yeah.
listeners. I tell you,
I'm gonna
we'll
put
have
the hat on.
put
Is
the
that
hat
bad
on.
luck or good
No,
luck?
it's all right. You can put
Put
my
the
hat
hat
on.
on. Hey, you
Okay.
can leave.
Leave your
Your
hat on.
Here we go. I knew there'd be a little sing along.
There
So, woo.
Thanks, Matt. Yes,
Thanks,
so
guys.
we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Yeah,
we always
good
give
luck.
we love people to rate and review. Now, how many
yes.
stars do you think
Well,
that
it's
Matt
out
Moran
of,
should
it's,
have?
it's 0 to 5, isn't it?
Yeah, but
so
I
I'd say
think
55.
55.
Oh,
I
right.
think
High,
55.
we always say.
I was just about
Like
right. You
that.
guys.
Just keep focused, aim high.
Yeah, follow, share,
Thanks,
rate,
guys.
review. We'll be
Take
you.
care.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.